How we going? Last probably little video from here, from home, and the lockdown scenario. We'll be in the studio next week, which should be great to get back in there. Looking forward to it by all stretches of the imagination. Today, obviously, we'll be covering fixes and faults with the takeaway, both in regards to club face and where the weight shift and where the hips and where the body should go. Let's first have a quick review of the issues that we are addressing.
Alright, so let's have a quick look at those things we're going to be addressing in this little video. Number one is very clearly going to be the face rotation going back. Number two is going to be the lateral, kind of this little slide going back. So I mean, even from the setup, just even from the waggle, you can see how much you're going to be moving off that golf ball as you go back. So there's this lovely kind of reverse spine, reverse. Yeah, it's just not the action we want to have going back. So, and it's all going to do, I mean, it's literally the same thing you do in the takeaway, where you literally sway off the golf ball. So that's the first thing we're going to address, along with this club face, where you're seemingly trying to get the toe pointed skyward, or in this case it almost looks like it's more than skyward, whereas we're going to be talking about, especially to reduce the fade. Now obviously if we were trying to reduce a hook, it'd be a very different question, but we're going to try and get this club face to match up a lot more even with your spine, even at that point, to look what might feel a little hooded, because obviously from here it's pretty tough when you sway off it and you rotate the face open to do anything. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be that little over the top action with a nice cut swing. And yeah, so those are the faults there in the takeaway that we're going to address. Let's get back outside and let's get into it.
All right, so as we saw there, we had the two major issues that I don't really particularly like. Number one was some club face stuff with sort of an excess amount of face rotation going back, the toe of the club kind of getting toe up at this point here. And then also to match that, as you're doing this, you're actually watching the club, and as you're going kind of with the club for the journey. So there's a lateral sway going on with the weight literally moving, the whole body, the pressure moving almost to the outside of your trail foot and the club face. So if you have these combination of events, firstly that, to get that back to square, you're going to have to, got two options. You can either have a huge lateral movement back to the ball and then try and flip it real hard through impact if you're here, and then if you toe up, if you open it going back, you're going to have to try and close it going through. And then if you match that, which you're going here with this, like I said, the only way you really conceivably going to make a strike is to do the problem that you have got, which is going to be a over the top to try and move a low point back to where the ball would be, with the club real open to the path through impact, creating a lovely high slice. Basically, you could, I suppose, if you come down and left enough, you could get a low launch, high spinning to the right combination. That's pretty cool if you're trying to hit a super nippy wedge, but trying to hit a full shot, it's not good. So we've got a couple of little cool props we're going to have a go with. I need to actually make a little inside video of this, the frying pan, and then I've crudely cut out a circle of cardboard and taped it onto an 8-iron to give us a bit of a feedback. So first we're going to start with the frying pan, and it's going to be addressing that takeaway scenario. So what we're trying to do with the takeaway, because like I said, I'm not a huge fan of if you open it, then you have to try and close it. I like it in a scenario that it stays very much square to its arc. So it might even look a bit hooded for those that like face rotation going back. So it's here, so it's a scenario that from here, all I need to do is just rotate my body, and I'm going to strike it nicely. So it's going to be a little bit more face down, and then rotate through. Obviously, it's not going to be like this, because you don't want to have the club like that at impact. You want to just a little forward where it was, the handle obviously, and the face square to the target. Thereabouts, maybe a little open if you're trying to play a draw, or a little closed if you're trying to play a fade. to the target line, not to its path, obviously. So, a frying pan, hold it. It could be held like a tennis racket. Generally, here we're going to hold it like a golf club, obviously. And as we go back, you can see the frying pan is going to be facing the target. As we go back, we're going to try and feel like we're going to get that frying pan to face a little down. Not there. I'm not Dustin Johnson styles. Just there, it's pretty good. Just the same angle as your spine angle. I'm a bit of a fan of. And then from there, you can get used to going from here to the target. So the frying pan's now facing the target again. So there to the target. Not up in the air, not here and up, there to the target. So that's your first thing just to get used to, is the concept of keeping the frying pan pointed slightly down, not like that. I don't want to see the frying pan there, okay? And the takeaway. We're not worried about that just yet. So just that. And then as we get used to doing this move, we want to get the feeling of the right glute going not only backwards, so it's almost going to feel like the weight's going to go into the trail heel, but it can even feel like it's going towards the target. Especially for a player that used to doing this, we somewhat have to exaggerate the solution, unfortunately, to learn. Almost feel like you're going to get your right butt cheek to go, as it goes back, it's literally going to feel like it's drifting towards the target during that little takeaway move. So you're going to create some separation or space between this and this. They're almost going to separate from one another, which is when you're using that plane mate at home that you have too. If you haven't got one, obviously it's going to apply for you, but just to get this feeling of creating that stretch between the two. So face down, hip rotate. And you can get used to doing it also watching the golf ball as opposed to being in the scenario where you're going and following the club. That's not that. We don't want to have this action in the backswing. We're trying to get this feeling here. Hips rotating internally. So the right hip's rotating there. Just staying nice and center. And then from there, we can obviously start to get some other cool stuff going. But our number one job, just to get things going on the right track, is number one is face awareness. Where is my club face? Getting some idea of where it is and where we want it to be now, which is new to you. And then developing some awareness of hip mobility and also the quality of movement that we're having with our hips. We're not following the club head, we are turning our hip back that way at the same time as we're taking the club away and keeping the club pointed down. All right, that's our number one job there. What it looks like with this highly scientific piece of equipment. Obviously, this replaces the frying pan. It's a little bit easier to see than the club head. And at address, obviously, that's facing the target, as is the club head. And as we go back, we're going to get this feeling like it's going to be pointed, matching the club. And then from there, obviously, as I come through with my body, boom. And also, I feel like I want to use my body from there, because if the face is open and I use my body, I'm going to miss the target. Shanker duels is fun things. As opposed to that's going to go at the target. And bear in mind, obviously, a golf club has angle, whereas the cardboard does not, has loft. So we're trying to just get this feeling of keeping that face down with the body turning, just to get used to that. And then you can pivot on through. And that will at least get you with the club beautifully on plane, develop some awareness. And then once you get the start movements right, from there, everything else in the golf swing certainly becomes vastly more manageable. That, my friend, is step one. Get to work.